Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for over 450 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Michael Dude. Thank you, Michael. Longtime dude, actually, I think. Also a screenwriter. And he has, he's a filmmaker, but he's doing a lot of screenwriting lately. And he's trying, guys. He's maybe one of the only people trying to get a proper Street Fighter movie made instead of the masterpiece we got in the 90s. But that dude,
and then they had a big creative differences thing with the Street Fighter movie that it is in production, and I don't know if anything's happened with that because that creative team just left it.
As I was saying, a lot of projects are dead in the water. A lot of things like Blade's dead in the water. A lot of stuff is just dead. Like, we're just not going to hear about it anymore.
And speaking of dead, let's talk about Gamescom opening night live. Because I'm going to try to be jovial and not be like ranty or anything here, but like, man, I never felt any post E3 showing or whatever. I never felt I never felt like the industry was as creatively dead as it was today. I don't know. And I don't know if this is just a result of, my gut feeling here is like, okay, like Jeff said it months ago, we're at his own Summer Games Fest, where he's like, it's a dry year, it's a slow year, it's a light year, whatever he said. I think it was a light year for releases. It is.
Yeah.
And I mean, then he had his show, and then Microsoft had basically their show, and Microsoft's basically a third party at this point. So it's kind of like, so basically it was having two shows there, and then of course all the other PC and indie shows after that. So, and this was only 2 months later, and they're not really ready to talk about a whole lot of new stuff. So it just, to me, this felt like, my whole takeaway was, where I'm starting to really feel the effects. I know things usually take time. A lot of people got laid off last year. A lot of people got laid off this year. So that usually means you're going to feel the effects in 3 to 4 years. I feel like we're already feeling the effects in a way, because it's just, this was such a scared industry showcase.
Well, this is the effects of the actual pandemic. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing all those projects that got cut and then brought back and then slowed down. Like, we're seeing real effects. These layoffs are also, they are part of the effect of.
And I want to be clear here. I'm not saying there weren't any games. There were so few games. It's not about titles of games. They had games. They had announcements. It was the fact that everything they were announcing and everything they were showing, even if it was actually a new IP, was a checklist of basically, this is a very known money-making quantitative thing. It was like you could be a new IP, but they are playing it super safe.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Again, I think this is one of those things where all the tech guys that got into both sides of the entertainment industry, right? Movies, that is where gaming is going. However, movies are, playing it. They're playing it safe. The franchises that they're sticking close to, all that's, you're going to see a lot of gaming going that way because the industries are like intermarried now. They used to be completely separate, to the point where there was almost a complex by some game developers, or, we make jokes about David Cage, like, he wants to make a movie, why does he go make a movie? Well, games and movie industry, or entertainment industry, I should say, they're all
they're all kind of suffering the same thing right now. And I think Linked was like the biggest one, because it was a new IP and it was from a new studio, and I don't think it was that Max Spielberg. Maybe it was that Max Spielberg who was coming out and talking, and as he's talking, it's like, it's a game, and it has roguelike and action and co-op and cross-play and town building, and I'm like, okay, it's just everything that's been sort of successful recently.
That's the one I got confused. because it seems like there's a lot of co-op stuff coming. It seems like, and
Co-op's great. I mean, don't
yeah,
get me
that's great. Well, yeah, I'm happy about that. And you got you got a co-op zombie game coming. You got basically a Far Cry Instincts Predator mode coming.
Mhm.
Like, there's things I'm happy about, but I definitely picked up on like they're playing it real safe.
Yeah.
They're going for. I mean, well, except for Borderlands.
Well,
Borderlands thought they were playing it safe. Now
yeah, what a
they're in
way to
hot water.
kick off the announcement with this Nothing Burger CG trailer, which usually is not a good sign. But then I'm like, because the minute it said Gearbox, everyone's like, it's Borderlands 4. But I'm like, it can't be Borderlands 4. I'm like, Gearbox, I'm like, guys, you really think Gearbox is just Borderlands? It's Borderlands.
Yep.
It's-
Well, it's supposed to be coming out next year,
yeah,
meaning
next
end of
year.
next year, and they don't
Also,
have
mean
anything other than a
also,
CGI trailer.
yeah, exactly. Also, meaning they've been working on it for a while. Then,
While, well, was it supposed to tie in? Like, was the movie supposed to be such a smash hit? They thought they had something here. Where is this game going to tie in with the
oh
movie?
yeah, this is probably like the most deflating synergy marketing plan ever.
Like,
Like they were thinking this is going to come out, it's going to be a big summer movie, and people are going to be like hot off this film. Everyone's dick's going to be jonesing for a fucking new Borderlands. We're gonna have Borderlands
yes,
4, bitch. And it's like, yeah, and they're like, "Ugh," and I was like, the movie came out, and it was like, like Coraline had a 15th anniversary screening this weekend, and it made more money than Borderlands. Apparently, it made more money than Borderlands' entire run so far.
even though Neil Gaiman's in hot water.
Yeah, well,
So nobody wanted
why
to.
does it seem to be like it happened with Warren? Was it not Warren? The Castlevania showrunner, not showrunner, but like one of the lead writers, Warren, whatever. I think it was a Warren. It was him, and then like there's someone else, and now Neil Gaiman is like everyone seems to need to take their turn. Every like artsy British graphic novel author writer has to take their turn. At some point, they got way too inappropriate with people they were working with, and it's like,
Yeah, I don't. I mean, like I don't weigh in on any of this stuff because I don't know enough about it, and for the most part, like I don't give a fuck what Neil Gaiman has done in his life personally. I haven't even read most. I don't think I've read any of his. I think I've read maybe like one or two of his things. I don't know.
Sandman's very good.
Yeah,
You're-
what I think this is though is like everybody everybody's favorite guy is getting hunted by other people's favorite guys as soon as their favorite guy gets in trouble. Does that make sense? Like, Neil Gaiman was under attack the moment somebody else's favorite did something shitty. Someone was going to find some dirt on.
It's weird too because like he wrote the English script for Princess Mononoke. A lot of
Did
people
he
don't know
really?
that. A lot of people don't know this. He wrote the English script for that movie. I have to sit there and wonder how Miyazaki has to sit there and feel where it's like everyone who tries to like get his stuff adapted and brought out in the world turns out to be a weird sex pest because Neil Gaiman now, and then it was John Lasseter, and then his own producer got caught in a scandal. Though that one was so minor as far as scandals go. And it happened in Japan and nobody heard about it but me. But like, it was just kind of like Miyazaki's probably got to be sitting there thinking, like, can you guys just keep your dick in your pants for 5 minutes?
Or Miyazaki's a bit of a freak too.
Well, according to his son, he's just a workaholic and like he's just an asshole and doesn't pay attention to anyone.
It's just like if everyone around you turns out to be a sex pest.
I don't know. By the way, God, I love it because there was more that came out of that interview with Pete Docter, that current head of Pixar, not a sex pest, actually a seemingly very cool dude. Because he asked him about the test audiences, and there was a follow up to that. There was more to that, and then he was just like, well, how do you know you're hitting the right beats? How do you know like when you're doing something? Do you ever like how do you know like what do you do to consider what the audience is going to feel like for timing, for pacing, when an emotional moment has to hit and how far in? And he's like, I never think about the audience. He's like, it was just like, I never think about the audience when I write a movie. I was like, oh my god, it's so bad, but it's like, man, like I love it, but I don't think you're that director writer. But there
Yeah,
are
no,
there are a few titans who can do that. I would not suggest that for anyone getting into film. To be just like, I like, ignore the audience always. Never think about them. Never think about test screenings.
it depends on what you're trying to do. So I have really bad news. If you love Pixar, you love Marvel, uh, it's math. They just
Oh
break it
yeah.
down to math. Their
Oh, they do.
story beats and everything. All Pixar movies have the same story beat structure. All Marvel movies
Mhm.
follow the same story, and they all do the same, like, down to the page. You're gonna have a joke to break up the serious, like all that. It's math. If you really, really, really love Marvel movies, if you really enjoy them, it's because you love math. You love the
No,
expected.
there's a scientific formula. Again, this
Yeah,
is why I actually, was so happy to see Boy in the Heron win the Oscar. Because
unbelievable because it doesn't follow any of that shit.
it is the most. I don't give a shit about your 3 act structure film I might have ever seen. But
Yeah.
also,
Well,
but is also still entertaining. Like, still is like, okay, yeah, I can vibe with this. I can watch this. I can enjoy this, because I've seen movies that are like foreign films that are not 3 act structure based, and they're kind of just all over the place. French films, you're on my that's mostly you,
it,
but but
no, like if French films, if a good French film establishes a structure and follows it, that's good. You don't have to follow 3 act structure. You have to have a structure. Just like a
yeah,
dude has to have a skeleton or he's just a fucking goop ball
yeah,
springing around. You got to
yeah,
have a structure. It doesn't matter what structure you do as long as you have a structure. Ideally, it's a structure that people can follow along with. The problem that I have with a lot of French films, and this is an exaggeration because I don't have problem with a lot of French films, but when I have a problem with a French film, it is because either one, they don't follow any structure at all. They just follow
yeah.
like vibes.
Right, like
And I can
flow.
get down with vibes.
And I think that's
Like,
why, hey, I think that's actually why French and Japanese filmmakers and animators vibe with each other so much, because they like to do this. They love the stream of consciousness style of storytelling that they both do. It's just that for me, a lot of times I've seen French films where it feels like it's not even like, oh, we ran out of money, we had to just end the film. It was, I got bored and I have ADD and I just stopped making the movie.
no,
Like,
what it is,
I didn't even wrap it up. Film's over. Like, wait, what do you mean film's over? We were in the middle of something. Yeah, I'm done. I don't care. Yeah, I lost
uh,
interest. I'm over. Bye.
French filmmakers, and again, I'm not going to speak as an expert because I'm not an expert on French cinema, but my understanding of it, as was explained to me, is that a lot of French storytellers, not just filmmakers, but a lot of French storytellers care more about the emotional end of the
Mhm.
story
Nah.
than the plot end of the story.
Right.
So it doesn't, in there, especially with like historical epics, this is something where they're like, oh, well, the character has an emotional like
Yeah.
ending here. Fuck the final battle.
Yeah.
You'll be like, but what? Final battle? No, I went back and I watched Alien Resurrection mostly because I hate myself.
It's a French movie.
It is a French as fuck movie.
Yeah, Amelie director.
Yeah, it's something that like I was like, I can't believe it's the Amelie director because I like Amelie a lot.
Which apparently is a very good movie.
It's a wonderful movie. It's just like it's a joyous, wonderful movie. I like that movie. But you watch that movie and you're all like, wow, this is a person who really understands cinema. And then you watch Alien Resurrection, you're all like, this is a person who, I, the kindest thing I can say is he must have been struggling with the American studio system the entire time. One, Joss Whedon wrote it, and you can see all the Whedonisms. But two, like it's the most not alien movie that has aliens in it.
Oh yeah, for totally.
It's a fucking
Um,
mess.
I mean, really though, I mean, if if you wanted to see what Resurrection would have been like as a traditional Alien film, you could go see Romulus, because it's basically Alien Resurrection, but with the tone of the first one.
It's sort of. It's sort
I
of.
mean, let's
It's
think about that. Think about that third act there, dude.
Oh, well, the third act is obviously ripped from it. I think what it was is they were trying to bring Resurrection more into the fold, because Resurrection without Romulus stands so off on its own and fucking
Yeah.
strange land. And then with Romulus now it's like, oh, there's sort of a narrative connection. I think maybe because they're just going to remake it. I think they're going to remake that shit. But I'm sorry, I dragged us way off topic. The point that I was getting at is that all of the entertainment industry is getting super weird. And you watch Gamescom opening night live, and you can see how it's affecting you.
Yeah.
Even though there are games that I'm legitimately excited for.
Yeah,
Because
I'm not going to sit here and say also that there weren't good games there. There weren't games that I'm like,
yeah,
excited. There weren't games like there is all of that. But I think
you can
just
see they're playing it safe.
to be very quick to zoom back to 2 months ago at the Xbox showcase. They had that game Claire Obscura 33 Expedition 33, right?
Yeah,
That was an exciting, okay, that was like, okay, a European studio is going to take a stab at a sort of subgenre that like that never comes out of that never leaves Japan. And they're going to take their own stab at it with their own sort of look and art style and feel and
yeah,
story. And that's exciting because it's someone, it's a very new take on something,
right.
which we didn't get something like that. We that's the part that kind of like I was like, like in I wanted to walk away with, that's what I was kind of hoping for. Not even just an update on that game in particular, but just to have that sort of moment where like, oh wow, someone from probably from Europe, because this is the European game show, was going to announce something that was like kind of different and wild, but in unique, like Claire Obscura or Expedition 33. Instead, we got 30 million civilization and farming simulators.
Okay, well,
We got Civ 3, we got Civ 7 as well, and then there was literally like 5 other games that looked exactly like it
and Civ 7 is one of the ones that I'm excited about just because I love that game. I like Civ. You just turn your brain off and play some fucking game. I don't play it online though. I imagine it would be much more stressful if I was trying to
there.
play it well. I'm probably not good at the game, but I enjoy playing the game. I think one that I was sort of shocked by is it's the Peter Molyneux
Yeah.
rip on Capcom's tower defense that you
Kunimitsu. So apparently
can
this is yeah. Not Matt. Was it Matt? It was Masters of Albion. I think it was called Masters of Albion.
yes, yeah.
So I mean he's back, I guess. The grandfather of scope creep is back in the game industry now with a very tiny indie team, basically going back to his black and white roots.
Right.
So he's very much going back to kind of what he was known for originally. And the thing was is like that was probably the only what felt like truly personal game that was shown there. And it was still more or less just kind of like, yeah, it's definitely, yeah, you can tell it's a 20-person game. You can tell it's definitely like someone going back to his roots kind of thing, but it also is somewhat of a safe thing where it's like, all right, here's this town raising simulator and you play as a god, and then like you can even go and possess certain characters. And the
Right.
coolest thing about it was like possessing people, but doing the black and white kind of thing. Possessing the town guardian and going and doing like really janky looking attacks on enemies, tower defense style.
Well, and I also love that they went out of their way to be like, oh yeah, this has nothing to do with Fable. It's not. It's in the Fable world. It's Fable adjacent.
Well,
Like,
apparently they're skirting it because Albion is like the name for Britain.
yeah,
So it's that not that Albion, but it's that Albion because
yeah.
it's Peter Megazord. Um,
Peter Megazord. um, yeah. Actually, I don't know how many people know that Albion is an old name.
so
Like old
yeah, an old
name.
name for Britain, right? Yeah, it's like Nippon and Japan and
Yeah.
England, Britain, Albion.
I'm gonna. I don't really want to go down the list of all the announcements because I imagine you probably, if you're listening to this, you also already know what the announcements are.
Yeah, I mean, the nice stuff was like we got a gameplay for Terry, comes out September 24th. I heard.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's true. I think it is true. We got a release date for City of the Wolves, which was nice. They announced Mai was going to be in the game, so all the thirsty weebs are now like drooling. You know, just
SNK boys. So basically, Brazil. SNK is huge in Brazil, and everywhere else it's sort of.
Well, a lot of Central South America, it's actually pretty huge.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah. It is the entire
Brazil,
region.
absolutely.
But
yes,
Brazil,
but
SNK, yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, like so, but like all the SNK people, you know, they got all hot and heavy because they got them. But you know, here's a cool thing: they're actually selling the game and the season 1 DLC for $60. Like if you pre-order like you have a pre-order bundle for the whole base game and season 1 roster for normal price. Not here's the game and I'll give me 30 more bucks or whatever for this, which maybe is the smartest thing to do for SNK because you know they're SNK. They're basically trying to reintroduce themselves to the world. They're not.
They're doing a good job of it.
Yeah, and Capcom can't do the same. You know, Capcom Street Fighter is super big and well known. They can't compete with that. So yeah, Capcom and Tekken can get away with sort of shitty. I'll be honest, like Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8. Yeah, they have a pretty shitty season passes as far as pricing goes. But yeah, SNK is like, well, how about this? Instead of charging extra, like, hey, you pre-order the game, you can get the game in season 1 DLC, all of season 1 DLC as it comes in for normal game price. So.
Yeah, no, that's pretty legit. The other fighting game, is it a new Dragon Ball fighting game?
No. That was so I can understand the confusion here. So it is new. It's new. But it's a return to Budokai Tenkaichi. So it's basically Budokai Tenkaichi 4 because there was the Budokais 1 through 3, there was Budokai Tenkaichi 1 through 3. And this is basically like Budokai Tenkaichi 4. It's an arena fighter. Like maybe a little more close up, but it's basically an arena fighter, flying arena fighter because Dragon Ball characters can fly.
Yeah.
If you were, and there's a lot of them, if you were a kid growing up on the PS2 and playing Dragon Ball Budokai,
yeah,
oh boy, this is exciting. If you're into like the more traditional hardcore fighting style,
like fighters,
you have to really love Dragon Ball. Because the thing is, like, if you like Dragon Ball Fighters for the fighting game, but are like only mildly of a Dragon Ball fan, this is probably not for you. This is for Dragon Ball fans.
So an arena fighter is more like Power Stone, like because you're over the shoulder in an arena fighter.
It is over the shoulder, but it's because Power Stone's more overhead. Power Stone is an arena fighter.
Yeah,
but Power Stone is like this isometric arena fighter.
I'm just trying to figure out like. So Budokai games, like arena fighter games, aren't necessarily going to have the same following that a standard fighting game is going to have because
right,
you can't
don't get me wrong. Right, it'll sell well. It'll sell very well, but it's not going to be the kind of thing you think about. It's not going to be like at Evo.
Yeah, it's not going to be okay. Yeah, I was sort of confused by that because I wasn't sure. Are we expecting a follow up to Fighters? Is that expected? Is that something that like
that is the question on everyone's mind because they're done with Fighters and it was super successul. Super. So
something has to be coming. I think that's why I assumed this was
and we don't really know what ArcSys is doing because I mean they're working on Grand Blue and they're working on Guilty Gear, but like Guilty Gear Strive it's been around for many years now. You know, it's and yes, they're getting a new season of DLC and they're getting the Cyberpunk guest character, but it's like it's just that's a season of DLC. Like the base game's been done. Yeah, they're trying out that 3v3 mode as well, and they have the Grand Blue game, which is getting another season of DLC, and it's going, but like they don't have like what is the game that the majority of that studio working on right now, because the majority of that studio is probably not working on DLC characters, season pass characters for Guilty Gear and Grand Blue. So it's like, what are they doing? What are they doing?
We can hope.
The common, the or not common, I guess common or just simple guess would be like Fighters 2, right? But there's sort of a contract, from what we understand, there's sort of like a contract thing with Dragon Ball where it's like they have to release a new game like every year kind of thing. So
really,
yeah, so this is kind of why, we're seeing it wasn't just Fighters 1 to Fighters 2 immediately. It was like it was like another Game Studios game, well, another Game Studios game, another Game Studios game, regarding like that stuff. So
that's fucking insane. Well, I thought that was going to be a new fighting game to get excited about, but
I mean, it is if you're into Arena Fighters and Budokai Tenkaichi stuff. So
I feel like most of the people listening are into like competitive fighting games, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort
We're
of
all
a fun,
salty motherfuckers.
Right. This is like they're very much more fun. Turn your brain off. Like I have the same issues that a lot of certain other fighting game people have with Arena Fighters, that you feels like you chase people down most of the match.
Right.
You're just chasing them or like hurling beams at them. Like it doesn't. It's more frustrating than fun to play. So, but
fair.
To be fair, for a lot of people who don't play fighting games, they kind of love Arena Fighters. You know why? Because there's no weird combo strings attached to it.
Oh, that actually, yeah, that makes sense.
You just you move towards the character and you start mashing the attack button.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what that says about Kenny and his love of Power Stone, but I'm there with him.
I mean, again, Power Stone is an oddball because it's an arena fighter, yes, but it's different.
It's special.
The viewpoint's different. The arenas are much smaller in Power Stone.
Yeah.
It's
just dumb fun. I'm not. Again, it's another one that like I'm not good at it, but I've never had a bad time playing Power Stone. I've had lots of bad times playing Street Fighter or MK, mostly because I lose.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There was like another trend that I don't know if it's a trend really, but it just seems like something that popped up a lot. Is you remember like Smash TV? Yeah, like it seems like every streaming company is coming out with their own Smash TV stuff.
I wish we got more twin stick shooters.
I mean, well, we're not getting like twin stick shooters like Smash TV. Yes, was a shooter, but like that game show style co-op dungeon crawler.
Oh yeah, Quest
low resources.
How was it called? Quest for Meat or something?
King of Meat was one.
King of Meat.
So like people create dungeons and then you go through them and you win money. Linked is sort of kind of along
Linked is kind of trying to be everything.
God, what's that? There was one that Netflix is coming out with. I wrote down somewhere. Netflix has one that's going to be streaming. So like all three of their Monument Valley, I think is the one.
I mean, that's just a puzzle game.
That's like a puzzle. Yeah, but it's low resource streaming channel games.
Yeah,
right. Isn't King of Meat Amazon? Which one's the Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon is King of Meat.
Right. So like you're going to start seeing this, like streamers are going to have the small games. You know what I mean?
Well, everyone's kind of looking for that Fall Guys moment,
Right.
that Lethal Company moment, and it's funny because there's been so many games that kind of tried to do this aesthetic or this idea, and they kind of failed spectacularly. Not even failed, but just sort of didn't happen. You have Knockout Kings, the dodgeball one, Rumbleverse, to name a couple there. There was Breakaway, which didn't even get released. That was years ago.
Which actually was too bad because Breakaway was pretty fun. But
yeah, and they had that other game that's a shooter now that has a TV persona that was getting into hot shit because the voiceovers were all AI voice announcers.
Right. Yeah.
But
I forget the title of that. Well, there was but my point is like you see a lot of this, Like if last year was the year of free to play, even though this year is probably another year of free to play is just going to get nothing but bigger. This year seems like the year streamers are going to really try and pump out, because the Monument Valley, yeah, it's a puzzle game. It's all three of them are going to be on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how I guess if you're on your PS5 or your
An app.
PC.
No, it's an app for your
Oh,
phone.
it's an app. Oh shit, I didn't realize that. Yeah, you're gonna see a ton of stuff like that. The other thing that I noticed is, as we always point out, there was actually a fair amount of gameplay, but the things that were most exciting, I don't think had any gameplay. Right? Because Dying Light, Far Cry, Baby Metal, that one,
Time for the Beast, right?
yeah, that had no gameplay, right? That was all CG. Was there gameplay
It
sprinkled?
looks highly curated if it was gameplay.
Yeah, I think it was all CG. I guess if you're excited about Dune Awakening, that had a 5-minute CG, or not, I mean gameplay thing. But there was like, I'm trying to think of the other really exciting. If you love Borderlands, the Borderlands announcement is exciting. I think two things to take away from that Borderlands thing is, we're a year out and there was no gameplay being shown. I don't know if that's a good sign. But two, the art style is totally different.
Yeah.
It looks like, the reason why I think that this was supposed to tie in with the movie a lot, like I thought the movie was going to be a huge hit. Part of the reason why they stuck with the art style that they stuck with for the first 3 games was a resources thing. One, making something that was photorealistic, it just looked like mud.
Yeah,
Because they
because
couldn't
Borderlands 1 originally was realistic graphics.
Right.
And then there was a controversy that they literally stole the art style off an Australian short film for the first movie. If it was called like Signs or something like that. There's a whole controversy behind the original Borderlands.
No shit.
And how they look. It looks like they kind of just like saw what this one short filmmaker did, and they just kind of ripped it off wholesale. Which, in hindsight, seems very Gearbox, I guess. So,
Well, I don't know if it was a ripoff as much as it was like a magic trick.
it was
Just a magic trick.
It was a magic trick.
But yeah, like, so it looks like new art style here, probably closer to photorealistic. You know, I wonder if they like just put like a fuckload of money into this because they thought, oh,
It
they're
was
gonna-
well, it was a short trailer, but it was also an expensive looking trailer too.
right. Yeah, Warhammer 40K. If you're excited about that, there was no gameplay, but it's gonna be
Very short, but it's out. It's out in less than a month.
Oh, you know what? One of the ones that I was excited about, it looked like there was some sort of gameplay, and there was Reanimal.
Yeah, Reanimal. So the original devs of Little Nightmares 1 and 2
Yeah.
went and made basically Little Nightmares. And the other studio making Little Nightmares 3 also has Little Nightmares 3 there.
Yeah.
So we now exist in this weird world where there is a Little Nightmares 3 by a new developer, and the original developers are making Reanimal, which is Little Nightmares.
Well, Reanimal gave me like Serious 9 vibes. You remember that movie 9?
Yeah, 9, yeah.
It gave me that. I was like, oh, there's like the aesthetics
honestly,
and shit.
One of the like the more this is gonna sound so weird. There one game that seemed kind of different and kind of I would try it. Was Hurdling. It was just that weird game where you're like that little kid, like a little shepherd kid, and you had to like run through these environments with a herd. So
I think maybe I missed this. I thought you were talking about Goat Simulator.
No, not Goat Simulator. Not which was another funny meta trailer, but like, it's not ranch. It's not farming. It's not building. It's not town building. It's ranching.
Yeah.
So,
You just run around after goats.
And yeah, you're just trying to get this herd of weird, almost where the wild things are / like Ghibli-esque weird goat things, across a landscape, in third person. And I was like, okay, well, that was kind of weird, but kind of interesting. I'd try it out. So Hurdling.
You're not excited for Infinity Nikki?
No.
Cozy open world on the cozy?
This was at what, the Summer Games show or something? And
it was where we first saw
I
it.
think it's like an ex-Nintendo dev or something, if I remember right.
I don't remember that. I do remember that it's mostly like fashion and
Man, this is like, who's this for? Do I want to know, kind of thing.
I don't know. It looks like it's going to be cozy. It looks like there's going to be a lot of 40-year-old men that play it. Yes, for all the wrong reasons. But it also looks like there's going to be like a lot of younger, just want cozy, want those Animal Crossing cozy vibes, but want anime.
I guess.
I don't know. I'm just not going to hate on it. It's not for me. It is
Yeah,
clearly not going to be something I'm going to play. So I hope people want to play it, love it. Path of Exile 2 had some gameplay in there.
which is another one of those. I swear to God, this thing was already out. How many times are we going to see this? And they're like, "Oh, it's early access at the end of this year," and I'm like,
Okay, I
"Okay,
was thinking like,
I thought it was out. Is this what?"
when did they first announce this? Because I thought when it first came up, I was like, I thought that already came out, and then I was like, maybe I'm just remembering Path of Exile 1. But Path of Exile 1 came out like a long time ago, right?
I guess. I feel like I never stopped hearing about it.
Well, Mecha Break for anybody that liked Virtuon. That looked pretty fucking sick.
Yeah, I tried that and it had like optimization issues on my rig, so I gave up on it.
Fucking burnout. I know at least 2 people who are excited about the Starfield update.
Two.
Yeah, because they've been waiting until when the game first came out, I was like, yeah, they're not doing vehicles. And they were both like, we'll wait until they put a vehicle in inevitably. And I was like, okay, here it is.
Here it
I'm the
is.
asshole. They put in a vehicle. There's a bunch of other stuff too that came out. Explorable, more stuff to do on planets you're landing on. Monster Hunter Wilds had a very pretty trailer. Still looks very pretty. Still not my kind of game. I tried real hard to get into it.
Uh,
Monster Hunter World.
I mean, Wilds is great. I'm pretty sure they gave nothing on release date or anything there, but it was like, hey, here's some other monsters. This is one of those weird things where it's kind of hard to sit there and gauge. Like, oh, did you see the Monster Hunter footage? I'm like, because Monster Hunter is such a gameplay focused game. Like,
Right.
it's not narrative driven by any means. It's gameplay focused. So when you see footage of Monster Hunter, it's great, but it's also kind of in this era of, sure, I wish I was playing it though.
Right.
Like I don't, like it's so gameplay focused or in a good way that I don't, after I see the initial, like I saw a hands-on demonstration at Summer Games Fest. And I know they
Right. Yeah.
have,
Talking about that. Yeah.
yeah, and they have a playable version for people at Gamescom. I wish that demo was online and I could just play it. I just want to play the game because there's not much, like it's like, oh, well, there's all this crazy stuff. I'm like, yeah, there's weapons and the weapons do moves, and there's monsters and the monsters do moves. I'm
Right.
like, that's
That's all of them. Yeah.
that's all. I mean, like, just let me play it. I don't want to talk about it.
There's I think all they said for release was 2025 for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometime next year, probably towards the end of the year. For everybody who loves VR,
I think that'll be earlier than you think.
maybe, yeah, maybe like March, April.
Because Capcom doesn't like to talk about things outside of their fiscal year, generally speaking. Going by their everything they've been doing for the past 5 to 7 years, they generally don't like to talk about and demonstrate games beyond their fiscal. So
That does make sense too.
not often.
And they drop things in February all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you really love VR and you happen to have the Meta Quest 3, you will get a Batman game that actually seems like it might be fun, except that it has first person combat, and first person combat when
It's
you're doing hand
VR,
to hand
you
is so gross. Speaking of which,
keep a
you have
lot
an
of room around you.
yeah. You have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which comes out in February of next year. I can't decide, like, the setting is cool. It's a 15th century civil war in what is now like the Czech Republic area. That's that part of the world, Bohemia.
Yeah.
I felt like this with like Skyrim too, and games like melee combat in first person. It always seems like it's a good idea, but doesn't it always end up being kind of jank?
Yes, always.
I'm hoping that this one is
Which frankly is kind of the same kind of fear I have a bit for Indiana Jones. I mean, I get it; it's Machine Games, and they've done Wolfenstein's, but it's like,
but that's not only melee.
right?
That has some melee, like, and Wolfenstein like has melee as well. It's first
Hmm.
person, but like you're not doing melee constantly, and they've proven that they can balance that well. It's just like when you get these games that are like purely you're using an axe or a sword, or and they try to put cinematic moves in there. It's mostly just janky looking and disorienting, and it makes me wonder if, like, is first person cheaper to develop? Is that what? Because for any
Yeah,
action
'cause
game,
there's a whole lot less camera work you have to worry less camera work you have to worry about if it's just where
that makes
the
sense, yeah.
character's avatar is. Hey, camera, look, I can't see where something is. Well, you have to look. It's your eyes, kind of thing. So
I hate that. Um, but yeah, there's like a couple of other games that I was sort of confused on. Netflix is beating Squid Game to death. There's gonna be another Squid game.
again, so much of this rush for I feel like in the Squid Game, King of Meat, and anything else of that ilk that we already kind of mentioned beforehand that either that's already come and gone, Knockout Kings, blah, 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 blah. Everyone is looking for, frankly, they're just looking for Fortnite.
I don't think
They
they're looking
they
for Fortnite. I think they're trying to
they're looking no,
recapture.
no, they're looking for the success of Fortnite. Right?
Well, yeah,
It's not.
every game. Yeah.
I'm not saying these games are Fortnite. I'm saying these games are trying to be the next Fortnite. That okay, I'm going to suck up all the air in the room. I'm going to like the talk of the town, all the streamers, all the mass audience. They're going to be addicted and sucked into my ecosystem and my big multiplayer game. And
They want the Among Us Fall Guys thing.
thank you. Yeah. Among Us, Fall Guys,
Right.
they want the crowd. They want to be that next Among Us Lethal Company. Uh, again, Fortnite, whatever. Everyone is looking for this. That's what I was just saying from the beginning. Like, it just felt like this whole thing was just about, okay, how can we do the things that are just like making the most money? What makes the most money?
Well,
And it's like, what?
they are all chasing trends because every fucking executive that they hired came from a world where they just look up Google Trends and go like, "Well, this is what's hot."
Yeah.
And they're a genius. Pay me $400,000 a year. Um, I've seen it firsthand. It is annoying as fuck. Not all of them are like this, by the way. This is
Right,
number
but
three.
it's like the like it feels like games are being made with the idea that like okay, we've got to make the next big overnight success.
Which is why they all feel 2 years old.
Yeah.
Because when they greenlight these, they're looking at Google Trends, literally looking at Google Trends and going like, "This is the hot thing. We need to make this." But it takes too fucking long to make a game. Yeah, I wish they would do instead of chasing trends, try to set trends. Uh, I I don't see how you convince any modern entertainment industry to do that, because all of the executive level, like, to be a producer in film, you used to have to start at the very bottom and work your way into being a producer, or you had to be someone's hairdresser. But the point is like you usually learned sort of how films work, how audiences work. You learned that step by step. It was almost like an apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore with like any of the streamers. All of those guys, all those executives, the creative executives, all of them, they come plucked from the tech world. All
Mhm.
of them. It is.
And they're so desperate to make money within a quarter.
Yeah.
Like a quarter of a year or whatever. They're so desperate to make money within a quarter to a full year.
Yeah. Well, that's a problem with the stock market as it stands now. Um, there was a couple of games that I actually like. Oh, No More Room in Hell 2. That's just going to be stupid fun. It's just Left for Dead. We're going to do that, but up to 8 people. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, that trailer came out. I'm like, well, it's been 10 minutes since our last zombie game. We need to have another multiplayer zombie game in there somewhere.
Yes, we do. And I'm not going to be mad at it. Am I going to play it for more than a weekend? I don't know.
And Call of Duty is going to have its 2 different zombie modes and its Black Ops 6 and
Sure as shit is. Although, can we talk about that 90s drip? Early 90s, post Cold War. Ooh.
I was actually shocked that Keeley agreed to be on stage during a presentation for a game that prominently featured Bill Clinton. But
How dare you? Bill Clinton charmed the fuck out of you. Everybody who sat there and made fun of or criticized Monica Lewinsky never met Bill Clinton in person. Okay, you don't shake his hand, you suck his dick. Man's charming as fuck.
Well, I was almost kind of impressed at how much of a spy movie they were making.
Yeah,
with Black Ops 6. I was like, wow, they're really going for this fucking
espionage, yeah,
Impossible style kind of game.
I was not expecting that. The other thing is like the movement system is more and more looking interesting. I don't know if the thing is right now it looks so interesting, but I have a feeling once it's like in multiplayer, it's mostly going to annoy the fuck out of people because you're going to have people like dolphin diving random directions over and over. But it's still a very cool movement system. I really like how there is that whole choose your own adventure almost. I don't know if that's going to be every level, but where they're like, oh, we can go loud or we can go quiet. Because, you know, me and you, we like to do it loud. We don't have the patience for the stealth. I try stealth. I get like 10 minutes in or however long into the mission, fuck it up once, and then it's just loud all day long.
Yeah.
um, I can only karate chop a few times, stab a couple of dudes.
I'll be stealthy until I get seen, which probably won't be very long, and then it's just loud the whole rest of the way.
Oh, as God wills it. That's how he likes it. Okay. I'm trying to think. Like, did you have a single game to end out on a positive note? Was there at least a single game where you're like, genuinely, this is going to be the shit? I'm going to get after this one.
I mean, again, I am very excited for City of Wolves and Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm going to be playing Terry and Street Fighter. I've actually been excited because I think Terry's moveset's going to translate to Street Fighter 6 very well. Those are all exciting things. I'm more tepidly. I want to be excited for Indiana Jones, but I've not seen anything that like rocks my socks off. I mean, the funny thing was I didn't see the full trailer. I should watch it, but like at the opening night live thing, it was like, okay, this is why it's Troy Baker, because we needed Troy Baker to do all the mocap for Indiana Jones. So like it's starting to make more and more sense, like why is Troy Baker just doing Indy's voice, because Troy Baker is doing everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's making sense, but I don't know. I want the game to like really hit.
It's hard not to be excited about that, knowing the pedigree of the developers.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm just really hoping they have what I really want is it to have their Spider-Man moment. I want it to be a game as good as like PS4, PS5 Spider-Man.
Okay.
That's what I really want. Because I mean, it's true. For what George Lucas has once said, like Indiana Jones is like the perfect video game character. Like he is, but it's amazing how tough a time people have found putting him into a video game.
I mean, that's all Uncharted really is just young Indiana Jones. And
yeah, exactly.
Like they changed his name and he doesn't wear a hat, but it's just young Indiana Jones. You watch the young Indiana Jones show and you're like, well.
And you're like, well, I wish I did something else with my time.
Yeah, so my most exciting game was probably Lost Records Bloom and Rage.
Oh my god.
It's just really sick. It's really sick looking.
It is. I get it. They're a smaller dev, but man, those are some animatronic looking animations.
Yeah, I think one thing that is
art style than what they're going with, the more realistic look.
I don't know. I think it. To be honest with you, I actually do think it's kind of charming, and it's going to hit that same like niche that the other games like it hit. I don't know why I'm playing the ones with like Max Caulfield and shit, even though they're making
Yeah.
another one of those. It's gonna hit that. It's really gonna be about like vibes and living in some nostalgia for a time that probably never existed in
And
your actual life.
most importantly, lesbians.
Yeah. Look, every
Did you hear
lesbian I've ever known has been a good time, okay?
No, I mean, did you hear that weird shit where like some studio exec or whatever that worked on either one of the other Life is Strange games after the first one or some related project, and they're like, I don't want like we don't want to be known as that lesbian game. We need to shake that image. Like they were like upset that it had such a resonance with the LBGT community, and I was just like, fuck this industry. I was just like,
That's hilarious. My game's a success, and I hate my audience. That's
yeah, and I don't even I don't know if it was someone from the original. I don't think it was someone from the original Dev Team. It was like a publisher. It was like someone at like
no,
the high end level.
it was the guys making the second game.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm just kind of like, wow,
They,
how dare you strike a chord with the
yeah,
LBGT community? Like, the hell is the matter with you?
I once knew a lesbian softball player that opened a beer with her teeth, just a bottle of beer, just and then down. I mean, just the hardest chick. God, went to the best parties with that lady. I'm team lesbian, okay? If I got to play the lesbian game so that the lesbians get more games, I'll do it. I want them to win at life.
Yeah. Well, either way, like the premise sounded cool, but again, my only main criticism from that game, what the hell was it called? Not Stranger Things, Blood and Rage or whatever, was like, man, I wish the facial animation didn't look like I was on Pirates of the Caribbean.
It it had that like cartoony when like a company can't really afford to animate a movie and so they do that claymation animation.
Mm,
Well, the latest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one did that same animation style.
that's CG.
Yeah, but it's like an it's looking at an and you know what I'm talking about with like the where the teenagers are actually playing or they have actual teenagers
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, playing teenagers. Yeah.
That art style is like every time a game can't afford to do a more, in-depth art style or something like that,
I
they
think they
go
should have
for
gone.
like that.
I think they should have gone more in that direction. I think it needed to be
You
more
think so?
animated. Oh, absolutely. I think this game is too realistic looking. I think it should have
Oh,
been more animated, more cell shaded, more cartoony.
I
I think it would.
guess.
I think it would have. I think it would have helped the animatronic feel of the facial animation immensely.
I mean, I don't really think they should have been photorealistic either, but like I don't know that they should have leaned into that art style. Are you
Oh, I
just
would
saying
have.
like they should have done a much more animated art style?
Yeah, I
Like,
think it
but
would. I
not
think it would help
necessarily the same, just more of the
just
same.
the characters like stopping and looking at each other and talking. And we're like,
Yeah, well,
ma. I'm like, yeah, that threw me off wildly during that trailer. I was like, oh my god,
I just
like.
want to know, like, obviously there's a time travel element to it. Now,
Mhm.
Strange, god damn it, what was the name of that game? I had a great time streaming those games.
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, yeah. I had a great time streaming those games. Like, legitimately, there are moments in those games that are like good moments. Um, and yeah, all right, you're taking the piss out of some of it, but I want to know like what's the nostalgia bait? They're obviously doing nostalgia baiting here for like a time in your life where you could just be like
Mhm.
happy go lucky and carefree. But outside of like the 90s, did early 2000s kids get to do that? Like go wander in a dump? Like in the early 90s, you could accidentally you could literally walk into a landfill.
There
Like you
definitely
didn't
was
even
a
have
little
fucking
more security scrutiny on things, I guess, in the
in the
2000s,
early
but
2000s, yeah, by the time the early 2000s came about, they were wise to like how many screws are in the dirt and shit,
yeah.
like I remember when I was a kid in the late 90s, we walked into an active construction zone. like like heavy machinery. We were just playing in a construction zone where they were building a bunch of houses and stuff till we got kicked out because the security guard finally caught us. Like, is that the nostalgia they're going for? Because looking back on that, I'm kind of like, is that good times? was that was that good times?
Well,
I don't know.
oh, what is the game doing? Is the game doing early 2000s or is it doing even older than
It
that?
l- it looks like it
I thought
has
the
to be
game
like 90s, but I thought
I
it was
thought the
going to be
game was like
earlier.
89 or something, 89, 90. I thought that's when the game was supposed to take place.
Oh, really? Oh, well, they
I
do
thought
say it's
because
27
it
years
was
ago.
I thought it was something like that where because didn't we see it like 2 months ago at the Game Fest or something or whatever, and it was like the 89. I swear, I remember
Oh, was it 80? Well, yeah, that would make sense then. Actually, yeah, that would make sense because everything's on tapes.
yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be like early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah, I distinctly remember this being like an 89 game for some reason.
Is it weird that we all have a nostalgia for the 80s slash early 90s when the 80s and early 90s wasn't really even like that? It's just we have a nostalgia for those movies until you go back and actually watch John Hughes movies and you're like, wow, they're sort of rapey.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like a lot of questionable decisions going on here. Um, yeah, I don't know. But realistically, if it's not Indiana Jones that is my most excited from this, it's probably Dying Light. The Beast does look cool, but there's no gameplay, so it's hard for me to like say.
Yeah.
Hmm,
People
uh,
will say there's gameplay, but I mean, like, man, did you see a life bar? Did you see a HUD elements? You didn't see shit.
I don't even think they tried for that. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say Reanimal's probably my most exciting game. It Indiana Jones, Reanimal, Civ 7, but Civ 7's not. It's Civ 7's going to be more Civ, and I like that, but it's not necessarily like the thing getting my dick hard
Right,
for the
right.
next year. The other thing that I noticed about it is like a lot of this is announcements where they just said it's 2020. It's either 2025, no designated date, or very early in 2025.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel like there's going to be a dry spell in the middle of the year
Oh, for sure.
that I'm
I
just so
almost
worried
wonder if
about.
this is where like they're all sort of like, where's Nintendo releasing their system? And we'll just kind of plan around that and GTA 6. Because I've also heard, I've read it too from people in the industry. A lot of people are kind of they're actually hoping GTA 6 reignites the industry.
You think
Like in
so?
a weird sort of way. I don't know why I think this mentality is I think it's weird to me personally. But they have like in a rising tide lifts all ships mentality. And a lot of them no one wants to release around GTA 6, but everyone wants GTA 6 to come out because they think it's going to kickstart like boost the industry greatly. And I'm like, it'll boost
Mm.
GTA. It's gonna boost GTA. It's not gonna boost the industry.
It I mean, I could see it might because it would keep people locked into the industry, like people would keep playing games, and that's where the high tide raises all ships type thing. But
Or maybe a little bit, man, but I don't know. It's just gonna do wonders for GTA.
yeah, I don't know. Like I said at the beginning of this, was that all of the entertainment industry is it's slowed down. I have friends that have been writing in TV that just like they haven't been in new writers' rooms in almost a year.
Yeah.
Like they've been writing in TV for years and no writers' rooms started up. A friend of mine in post production, um, it's just now hitting post production that things aren't coming down the pipeline. So all the stuff that was, that's going to be airing now, like, yeah, all that's done, and there's really no word on whether or not anything's coming after that. Um, y- the entire entertainment industry and the gaming industry is the biggest section of that. But like the entire entertainment industry, fucking even music is having weird issues, problems.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're gonna see. I sort of expected 2024 to be the weird year, but 2024 turned out to be a fairly good year for games. Um, not
It's got enough.
yeah, it's not like it's not 2017 reborn or anything like that, but it's got enough. 2025 might be the year where we see some real consequences.
Mhm.
2026 with all the Microsoft closures, because I think Microsoft's going to close more studios
Yeah.
in the
Right, right.
coming year. Um, I don't know. 2025 and 2026, we're really just going to have to wait and see. But it does seem like the middle of the year, if the Switch 2 or whatever Nintendo
Yeah.
announces is going to be like the big news item And if nothing else comes out around then, I guess the Switch is going to fucking kill it. So let's hope. Any final thoughts on Gamescom?
Yeah, I feel like my final thought was my first thought. This is like the industry is desperate for a multiplayer hit right now, and it feels like that's all they want to talk about is like, how can this possibly make me money, and how can I possibly, everything is like a possible constant stream earner, revenue earner. Like, it's gonna happen out, and you're gonna spend more money, and you're gonna spend more money, and it's gonna have this roadmap, and it's gonna have this, and everything is designed around the idea that, like, yeah, I'm gonna suck you in when I'm gonna take up your time, I'm gonna take up your money, I'm hopefully gonna take up both.
Yeah, well, this is another of the subscription apocalypse, which is another holdover from the tech world coming in and getting involved in entertainment. They want that continuous, every quarter growing subscription based. Yeah,
there was a shocking lack of like just notable single player content here.
And it was a shocking lack of single player content and a shocking lack of like risk taking.
Yeah.
There's really like, you're right. It's Peter Molyneux's new game is the riskiest game, and it's
not
a tower defense game. Like, fuck. On that note, we've got patrons to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week was Michael. Dude, thank you, Michael. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Austenite, Zybernite, Scrunami, Koroi 35, Hyper Viper 89, Hockey Kong 64, LCL Mayhem, and ZZ. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.